Hello. So we'll continue with Julius Caesar. We are on line 138. So now Brutus is speaking. He says, under a general shout, I do believe these applauses are for some new honors that are heaped on Caesar. So Brutus and Cassius are outside the stadium where the victory games are being held, and they hear a shout from the people in the stadium, and Brutus says that he believes these this cheering is for the people are honoring Caesar because of his triumph, and they're heaping honors upon Caesar's head. In fact, Brutus thinks they're going to crown him emperor on that very day. So Cassius says, why man, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus. So Cassius says that Caesar stands like a colossus. The colossus was a statue in ancient Greece. It stood across a harbor. One foot of the statue was on one side and the other foot was on the other side, and ships used to sail under the legs of the colossus. So we get the word colossal from the statue of Colossus, and Caesar is like a colossus, and and he stands uh, above, towering above the narrow world. And Cassius continues, we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable grace. So he says that men like himself, Cassius, Brutus, and the rest of the people in Rome, we, the petty men, the small men, have to walk under the huge legs of Caesar and peep about. They peep from side to side, and by the time they reach their graves, their lives would have been dishonorable compared to that of Caesar. Men that sometimes are masters of their fates, he continues. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars but in ourselves, that we are underlings. So he says, Cassius says, sometimes in life men are masters of their fates. At other times they're tossed and turned on the stormy waters of life. But sometimes men are masters of their fates. And Cassius says, the fault lies not in the stars. The stars do not decide our fates, but the fault lies in ourselves. Because if we are underlings, if we are subordinates to any great man, the fault lies in ourselves, not in our stars, not in our fates, says Cassius. Um, and he continues, the name Brutus and the name Caesar, what should be in that name Caesar? Why should that name be sounded more than yours? So Cassius says to Brutus, if we compare the names Brutus and Caesar, what is there in the sound? What is there in the pronunciation of the name Caesar? Why should the name of Caesar be spoken about in the streets of Rome, in fact, across the wide world, more than that of Brutus? Write them together. Yours is as fair name. If we write Brutus, Brutus, and if we write Caesar, Caesar, they're both as fair as the other. Sound them, it doth become the mouth as well. If we pronounce the name Brutus, and if we pronounce the name Caesar, then they both suit the mouth as well. Weigh them, it is as heavy. If we compare the achievements of Brutus and if we compare the achievements of Caesar, if we consider their weighty contributions to Rome, they are both as heavy. Uh, Conjure with them. Brutus will start a spirit as soon as Caesar. If we say Brutus and if we say Caesar, then men will become alert, men will become attentive if one says Caesar and if another says Brutus. They both command equal attention among the people of Rome. Now, in the names of all the gods at once, upon what meat doth this Caesar feed? So Cassius asked, what is the food that Caesar takes that makes him so much the more greater than the rest of us? Uh, and he's grown so great. How can he become so popular? How can he become so great? What is the reason? And what he's saying is that Brutus is as suitable as Caesar to be a leader. Caesar and Brutus, they're both equals. So he's really flattering Brutus to no end, right? Uh, Age, thou art shamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble bloods. So the age in which Brutus and Cassius and Caesar lived, that age is a shameful age, according to Cassius. And Cassius says that the empire of Rome has lost the breed of noble bloods. Noble blood means noble families, those which are aristocratic. See, if Caesar has become so great, that means there are not as many great people as there were once in Rome. When went there by an age since the great flood, but it was famed with more than with one man. Since the time of the great flood is spoken about in the Bible. This great flood happened uh, during biblical times, uh, thousands of years ago. Since that time, uh, when has Rome had just one man who is famous, like Caesar is now? Ever since the deluge, the flood, there have been many great men in Rome, but now there is just one. So, what does it speak of Rome? When could they say till now that talked of Rome, that her wide walks encompass but one man? So, uh, when could they say that when people spoke of Rome, that Rome contained just one man? Now is it Rome indeed, and Rome enough, when there is but only one man? So now it's really the Rome. Now it is really Rome because there's only one man. Oh, you and I have heard our father say there was a Brutus once that would have brooked the eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king. So Cassius tells Brutus, once upon a time, one of your ancestors, Brutus, he fought, he faced the danger, he faced devilish dangers to keep Rome free from conquest, and he was a king. So Brutus says, that you do love me, I am nothing jealous. So Brutus says, that you're showing affection to me, Cassius, I am not worried, I am not jealous of that. What you would work me to, I have some aim. So what you want me to do, I have some idea. How I have thought of this and of these times, I shall recount hereafter. How, wha- how, what my ideas are upon this subject, and what my ideas are on these times in Rome, I shall tell you thereafter. Soon I shall recount hereafter. For this present, I would not, so with love I might entreat you, be any further moved. So, at the present moment, Brutus entreats or requests Cassius not to take the matter further. What you have said, I will consider. So, what you told me, I will consider, he tells Cassius. What you have to say, I shall with patience hear. What you will say in the future, I'll patiently listen and find a time both meet to hear and answer such high things. And Brutus says that he'll find a time which is suitable, which is meet to hear such high things and answer such high things. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome. So Brutus says he'd rather be a villager, common villager, than repute himself a son of Rome under these hard conditions as this time is like to lay upon us. So he'd rather be a villager and become anonymous than live under the hard conditions of the times under Caesar in Rome. Cassius, I am glad that my weak words have struck but thus much show fire from Brutus. So Cassius says that he is glad that at least these responses have been obtained from Brutus. His weak words have obtained these responses from Brutus.